How you doing? My name is D'Angelo. Mambo, kupoa. Mimi ni D'Angelo. Bonjour, je m'appelle D'Angelo. J'ai 26 ans. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo D'Angelo. Dia, meu nome é D'Angelo. Estudio línguas extranjeras. Imitating e Xhosa. Ninapenda soma kujifunza lugha.
Welcome back to Evolve. Today we will be speaking with D'Angelo, who is an American polyglot student here in Paris, studying applied foreign languages, and soon he'll be commencing a master's in international relations. So D'Angelo, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Taking the time to speak with me today, bro.
And you know, often there's a stereotype that Americans don't speak other languages, but you don't fit into that box at all.
No, definitely. You know, I already know all the stereotypes. I've been here for a couple of years, so you know, I know how it is.
The thing is, they have that for Brits as well. That's why I can say that. But how many languages do you actually speak?
So I'd say I speak 4 to 5, and I'm learning a 6th one right now. Yes, sir.
And which are those?
So English is my native language. French, Spanish, Portuguese. I speak Swahili, and I'm learning Xhosa. It's a language from South Africa right now. So yeah.
So is it Lunjale? Or
yeah, Unjani.
Is that closer?
Yeah, it's closer.
Yeah. Learned that from one of our other videos with the South African guy. So
okay, that's what's up. Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we're going to go into the sort of techniques, advice you can give to someone who would also like to be fluent in multiple languages like yourself. But before we start, do you mind just giving us a little introduction in each of those languages?
Okay. Yeah. So how you doing? My name is D'Angelo. I'm 26 years old. I study applied foreign languages here in France, in Amiens. Bonjour, je m'appelle D'Angelo. J'ai 26 ans. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo D'Angelo. Estudio línguas extranjeras aplicadas en Amiens. E dia, meu nome é D'Angelo. Eu estudo as relações internacionais ou línguas estrangeiras aplicadas na Amiens. Mambo kupoa. Mimi ni D'Angelo. Nina umri miaka 20 na sita. Ninapenda soma kujifunza lugha.
That's very, very impressive. And it's awesome to see that you got European and African languages.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
There as well. So before we maybe go into the kind of story of how you became a polyglot, I'm wondering, do you have any specific kind of tips or strategies? Like, how did you get to this level, basically?
Okay, yeah. So pretty much what I can say to like most people who want to start learning, or, you know, who see themselves learning either one or more than one language, is pretty much just get started, you know, and have fun with it. What really helped me out is, you know, just diving deep into the language, you know. I have a lot of friends that, you know, I'm not just speaking the language with them, but I make it personal. I have certain connections with certain things. Their words aren't just words to me, you know, so there's a certain, you know, not a physical connection, but just some type of connection with it. I'm not just saying random words. They mean something to me. I have experiences that go along with certain words that I've learned. So
could you give us some kind of examples of that kind of thing?
Yeah. So if I'd say something like maybe in Swahili, for example, kupenda, right? It means to love. And a lot of words come from that, like mpenzi or upendo, which is like love, the idea of it. I always felt like that was like a beautiful word. And when I had first started learning it, you know, I felt like it was a lot different than how we express love in English and things like that. And, you know, and it helped me get that stuck in my head and pretty concrete in there, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I can feel like definitely having something to connect to feels like it's much harder to forget something when you've got those examples. But from a practical sense then, how do you take those? I mean, what was the journey then of getting from just being monolingual in America to then this space of...
Definitely. Yeah. So pretty much growing up, you know, my mother, she's African-American. And everybody in my family, we speak, you know, English. I slightly remember when I was a kid, you know, we all have to learn like a language in school. And I think like when I was a child, my sister, she had always said like, yeah, she spoke Spanish, and I would always ask her to like teach me some things. And, you know, she'd say like maybe one word or two. So I was just curious about it, you know, but I never really had any concrete base or any foundation in the languages. So pretty much when I was like maybe in high school, I kind of started dabbling a little bit in French, but not anything concrete, you know, some words and phrases, just like that. So maybe when I was about 18 or 19, I started to learn French. I started to learn, like des phrases, des mots, de vocabulaire et tout. And that just started, that kind of had like a snowball effect. And I had told myself when I started learning, and this was in January, I remember, I was like, if by the end of the year, I can communicate more or less in the language, I'm going to go to France, So, I kind of set goals for myself, and I just set a goal for myself, and I wanted to get in it. And by around November, I was like, okay, I speak a little bit, French. So I'm like, I'm going to buy a ticket. I'm going to go to France. And I had spent like 3 weeks here, and I was all over France. I was in Paris, Dijon, je suis allé au Metz, and pretty much like that. Yeah. So I got into it.
Because the thing is, we spoke beforehand.
Yes, sir.
At what age were you at that time?
I was 19. Yes, sir. Yeah. I was 19 when I started. Yeah, I was learning for about a year and a half before I came here officially in France.
So you've only actually been studying these for about 6 or 7 years now?
Yeah, about 5-6 years. Yes, sir. Yeah. I've been studying a little bit of time, and it goes quick, thinking back when I first started and I wasn't even able to, have a conversation, anything deep to, in a few weeks here, I'll be graduating from, university with these languages. It is definitely something that, I'm proud of, and,
sure.
I hold it dear to my heart,
No, it's very impressive, because I started French when I was 11.
Okay.
So, and I had to do it every week, week in, week out at school and then at university. Yeah. So when you said at 19 when you started, was that in a school or what?
No, everything was at home, like I always talk to my friends, like, how did you learn French and this and that? And, and they always ask like, oh, am I the child of like immigrants, or do my, I ain't gonna say my French is perfect, but, it's pretty decent. I feel like I can express pretty much any idea I have. Of course, I'm sure this happened to you. There's words that you may trip up on. You're waiting for it to come back to your head. I always say so true. But yeah, I was just at home, like online, and when you first start learning a language, you don't really know how to learn one. You just know like it's from what school we did, and write down this and this and that, But I think I was watching a lot of like YouTube, just a lot of videos. I was on Twitter a lot, so I got to see how the language was actually written, and I would see things like wesh, racaille, those type of things. So I see like, okay, say, okay, that's what they say. People that saying comme ci, comme ça, ça va, tu vois, ça dit quoi, tu vois, tu connais, like those type of things. Yes, sir. So I started that way. I had bought like a dictionary, like just with words. So I used to like copy down a lot of words and, get into it that way. And I had a lot of vocabulary, especially when I first got here, but there was never like the connection, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was horrible at conjugating verbs at first. Like I used to say things like, vouloir, par exemple. Like I wouldn't say, je veux aller manger. I would say, je vouloir manger quelque chose. Yeah. So I wasn't really good at conjugating, because, in English, we have pretty much simple conjugations. I go, I went, and it doesn't change too much. But you have, je vais, tu vas, il va, things like that in French and the other languages that I've learned so far.
Yeah, that's the thing is that people would probably understand if you say je vouloir.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I can't think of the example in English. It's like, it just, a native speaker would straight away pick up on it. And you don't want to, the thing is, again, be the Brit or the American who falls into the stereotype of speaking in that broken way. So how did you build up from someone just looking on Twitter and at home to actually getting that competency to construct sentences?
Definitely. So, I felt like, when you have a lot of vocabulary, that's really good, but it's not very useful. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say words without the connectors, you know what I'm saying? Like, que, moins que, parce que. So I was on YouTube, and I was always following this page, Alexa Speaks French, and I was doing that every day before work. It would be like 5 a.m. when I'm waiting to go to work, and I would be like, just looking at some lessons, I'm like, okay, things started making sense. And I was always wondering like, how do you say this? So I spent my life on the Google Translate, you know what I'm saying? Like, people can always say, that's not a good way to learn. It helped a whole lot for me, and it helped me kind of understand how to construct things. So I'd say that, looking up things on internet like Lawless French. I don't know if you know that page. It's just pretty much teaching you like different French lessons every day and things like that. And it is very in depth, and it definitely helped me a lot to improve on that. And also speaking with people. So I had a lot of pen pals. Yeah, so I would be on things like Tandem and Interpals. I don't know if you know any of them, but I would just search up, French speakers, So I have one of my first friends from Réunion Island where you...
974 représente, hein?
Tu connais. And it was my friend Virginie. So she helped me out a lot with my French. And, this was around the time when I remember October to like November, September, October, November. I was really like getting a lot better because I was speaking with her every day. And, I had put it off for months to like speak with her because I was like, oh man, I'm kind of embarrassed, like it's a humbling experience, to put you in a position like that and you're not understood and, you're speaking like maybe, like you have maybe one word for a whole sentence. So, studying every day, vocabulary. I use a lot of Anki also. Like I'm a real flashcard guy. I was doing that a whole lot before I got here too. So I feel like that helps out a lot, But everybody has their own way. But that one really helped me to improve a lot.
For sure, yeah. So it sounds like even before you came here to Paris, you had quite a structured. Was it like a routine in terms of at this time I will do this, or did you freestyle it more? Just whenever you got free time, do it. Was it structured or?
It wasn't too structured. I will say that, but. In terms of like, okay, at this time I'm going to do it. But it was like, okay, I knew before work I had maybe an hour, just sitting in my car looking for parking or, right after work. I wasn't in school at this time. So I was like, okay, I have a whole afternoon of, doing something. So like I was like, might as well learn a language, So I'm looking at just YouTube and I'm listening to music and I'm learning things like, Fally Pupa or, Aya Nakamura or then things, So I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. And I'm listening to music, Metre Games. I think every American's that's our first one, what I'm saying? Learning that type of things. And you're actually hearing the language. So that's, I went on that way, But I wouldn't say it was like very structured. I just knew I had to do my Anki every day. And I would be, right click if I know it, left click if I don't know it. And I would do that until, I got to a decent way.
Because even before you came to France, there was a passion for just this learning. And I think that I had it to a certain degree from 11 when I started, because it was just fun to learn these new words. I would look at a lot of rap, movies, and still, what is this slang mean? Like, what does that word mean? Or what does this mean? But then when you actually arrive here, and all the pieces come together when you meet someone who knows that song that, like, your other friends might not be listening to French rap. You're now in France. People know the songs you're talking about, and they can explain those things to you.
Exactly.
That must have been a huge boost
Man,
as well.
It did, because, like, I'd say, like, just you have your certain level, like, okay, I think I'm good. But when you get there, it's another thing, like we were just talking about it, like certain things like we don't learn until we actually get in place, like how do you want your steak, bien cuit, things like that.
Seigneur.
Yeah. So I was like, I never knew how to say that. So I would like, I would get there and you would have these days where, oh yeah, I know French, and then other days, the waiter talk to you, oui, comme ça, qu'est-ce que tu veux de plus? Je sais pas quoi là. So, and I'm like, I've never heard, even now there's things where I hear and I'm like, bro, I've never heard that. But yeah, like having that connection, like if I would say something to you right now, like, cause I'm speaking in English, so it's not a reflex to me, to say something about something culturally French, cause I kind of compartmentalize things, like with my English friends, I think about these type of things and things like that. I wouldn't be talking to my American friends about Metre Games, Gazo, or those type of things, because they're like, French rap, what is it? And we know, rap come from chez nous, it's from us. So they're like, oh, French people ain't rapping, we be back at that stuff. But I know if I'm talking to someone that understands, I have this cultural connection to not just America, but English speaking world. Like I know rappers like Central C. So if I talk about something like that, or Stormzy or Dave and things like that, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Of course.
And then if I flip the script and I'm talking about Réunion or I'm talking about pain au chocolat or je parle les RRB, I know that you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. So is that kind of line of, oh, because this is my new life. I've been here more of my adult life here in France and Europe, so I know it as an adult more than I know the U.S., so there's that just trying to distinguish, and it's kind of funny. I kind of catch myself when I go back home and I say something in French, like I just wake up and I'm talking, like, you know what I mean? And it's just part of your life now at this point,
Yeah, mais tout à l'heure, j'ai commandé mon petit déj.
C'est ça, ouais.
And like you mentioned, like I know the slang. I know how to say wesh wesh mon rey.
C'est ça, ouais.
Les rebeux, les renoirs, cimer, mon ref. But then when it came to like scrambled eggs or boiled eggs, I just don't think I've ever had to do that. What is it? It's like œuf à la coque bio or something.
Même moi, je dis la vérité, hein. Même je sais pas.
Tu sais what I mean?
Des œufs, quoi. Bah oui, comme tu veux des œufs. Je sais pas, des œufs. Because I don't like it with the white, so I don't like it. Yes, I like scrambled eggs, mais vraiment, je sais pas comment dire. Like, I don't really...
It was embarrassing because my brother was there and I said, mais lui, il parle pas français. Yeah. Pour moi, ça va, hein. And then she asked me the question and then I just go blank.
C'est quoi? Yeah, it's just...
C'est gênant, mais c'est comme ça qu'on apprend.
Bah oui, c'est ça, parce que tu veux te rappeler ah ouais, c'est comme ça on apprend, tu vois. Surtout en étant ici en France, tu vois, le fait qu'on soit ici, ils sont vraiment like a stickler for grammar or a stickler for it's not je veux que tu fais ou je veux que tu fasses.
Exactly.
Tu vois?
They'll let you know it, which is good. I actually like that.
It's cool, and it's cool in the terms of learning, like I'm like, all right, bro, chill, but at the same time, I'm like but I'm trying to convey an idea and like you interrupt me every 3 seconds, so I mean, it's a lot of rules, and I get it. And it's not, cause I know now I used to think it was something rude. But just being here and being in school, I've worked in schools and how teachers are and just how people are in the day-to-day. Like, I think there's such a fierté pour la langue that, they don't want to hear the language butchered. And in terms of English, like, we're so used to hearing so many different types of English, like, I leave, I go to the Chinese restaurant and the lady, she's speaking with a heavy, Asian accent, and I understand her fine. Go, you know what I'm saying? I go downtown Newport News. I'm hearing the Jamaican dude speak patois, with his English. I hear, the European dude speaking with a strong accent. I mean, and it's nothing for us, I mean, yes, of course, I'd say we're proud of our language, but our language is something that's so worldwide. We're not like, okay, it has to be spoken in this way, or it's not, I'm not going to say it's incorrect, but, it's just that their pride in their language, and I understand it, but I feel like it does kind of sometimes like, all right, tu comprends ce que je veux dire? You don't have to correct me every 2 seconds,
It's a double-edged sword because the reason my French improved a lot was because in Réunion, my friends did correct me.
Yeah.
But there was a mutual understanding there that when they spoke English, I'd do the same. And we both improved together.
Yes, sir.
But if you're really getting passionate and then someone,
yes.
How do you say? Couper la parole?
Yeah, couper la parole, ouais.
When they say coupe la parole, you are gonna whatever, but that's French people, so it's, blessing and a curse, I'd say at the same time. I'm with
you though, because I do have my friends, like, especially my young dudes that I coach for the football team, the American football team, like Alizio, Simon, or the other guys. Like, I would tell them, because I'm comfortable with them. I think it's always what that's what it comes down to. That the people that correct me sometimes, I feel like they wouldn't listen to what I'm saying, but they'd say like, oh, how I say it,
Yep.
I'm like, like I'd say something that could be like, j'ai tout à fait raison. Et après, ils ont, ah oui, il a pas dit dans les passés composés, là-bas, après ça suivi telle chose. Like, they would figure out that one thing I said incorrect, and my whole thing is invalidated because I made a mistake,
Just a quick message before we get back to the video. So Clemente and I love mixing languages together, pero tengo que confesar que cuando hablo, no hablo perfectamente en francés y español.
C'est pour ça qu'on a besoin de language exchange.
Mamma mia, ¿qué puedo hacer? Sacré bleu, monsieur. Il faut m'aider. For those of you interested in both language learning and new cultures, which go hand in hand, we've got the perfect tool for you.
Of course, how could I forget? italki.
Por supuesto. italki is an online language learning platform where you can take personalized one-to-one lessons with native speakers anytime, anywhere.
Because it's just you and the teacher, you really focus on your speaking and listening skills, as well as increase your confidence through live interactions.
With over 30,000 teachers, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but don't worry. italki has made it easy to find the right teacher for you.
You can search by lesson, category, or even by where the teacher is from. And one more thing, The best thing about italki is that you can pay for each lesson individually. There's no subscriptions, no commitments, and lessons are priced from only $5.
You also get 3 trial lessons, which are refundable if you aren't satisfied with the lesson.
I decided to learn some Italian and started taking beginner classes with Anna.
Piacere di conoscerti. Vivi in Inghilterra per lavoro?
How can I say in Italian? Prima per studiare e poi per lavorare.
Perfetto.
E avete un buon lavoro. The V is V, like in French.
Esatto, lavoro.
E siamo marito e moglie.
Moglie. Che L-I lo pronunciamo I.
E buona serata.
And buona serata, so you say that when you wish that people have like a nice rest of the evening. Ti auguro una buona serata.
Buona serata. Grazie mille.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. As you could see, the good thing with italki is that you get undivided attention and instant feedback from the teacher. You can learn authentic, native expressions the way you actually speak a language, not from outdated textbooks. You can even find teachers who speak your native language. So immerse yourself in a wide variety of cultures and languages without having to move overseas.
And now, italki Plus AI learning tools can help you learn even faster with a 1-month free trial. It's an optional premium feature that gives learners extra support through AI tools, including lesson summaries, personalized practice,
Quiero estar en forma para el verano.
and progress tracking to help them stay consistent and improve faster.
So start your language learning journey now with the link below in the description. And don't forget to use your promo code EVOLVE2507 to get your $5 credit when you sign up for your first class.
And this code is good for the first 50 users when you purchase $10 or more. So make sure you check out italki, links down below.
Alors, volvemos al video.
You know, the thing is, I fully understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But when people ask me, like, what's the best way to improve your grammar?
Yes, sir.
I actually tell them that's the best way
Yeah,
to have
correct.
someone do it. So I feel like that's probably why your grammar is pretty good right now,
Yeah.
is that you've got that constant reminder. Whereas in some cultures, people find it's a lot ruder
Yes.
to, like, people find it way less polite, I guess,
Yes,
to
sir.
interrupt you.
Mhm.
And then those people actually live in ignorance
Yeah.
for 5-10 years while speaking English, never knowing that they're
English
making that
is-
mistake.
Yeah.
But
Not-
again, in English, like your point,
Yeah.
telling people they're speaking in a wrong way because of the history of English and so many people, different types of English, class, race, whatever. In the UK, it's very common for people to say, like, I ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
And then are you going to tell someone, it's not I ain't,
Yeah.
it's I'm not going to. Like,
Yeah.
That's fighting talk
Yeah,
for some people. You know?
it's like at that point, I'm just like, but this dude is just pretentious. I mean, I like, because it used to get to a point, bro, like, because, you know, I kind of say I was a little bit honker, you know, like if I get a little agitated, I don't even want to talk to him no more. You know, it would be some dudes that was like, we weren't really friends.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, okay, well, let's just speak in English then. You know, and
Then you Uno reverse them and look how
then I'm
shy they
like-
get.
And then I'm hearing them, and we always have that, oh, the American, y'all don't speak R, you know, like that,
Yeah.
hamburger and all that stuff. But at the same time, I used to be like, all right, bro, so if my French is so bad, speak English to me, you know, and, you know, I mean, I was at the beginning, you know, when I didn't understand the culture and things like that, but I got past that, and, you know, I see it as, you know, they're not purposefully trying to be, I mean, everybody has their culture, everybody has their upbringing and the way they grew up, and, you know, it's not as bad now, you know, so I understand it a little bit better, but at the same time, I still kind of, tu le prends mal, tu vois, tu le prends au cœur des fois. Like, I'm very, like, I just think it's a sports upbringing, you know, like, you want to do things right, you want to do it correctly, you structure, you know, but with language, it's one of those things, it's like, it's always evolving, and you're not going to remember a word that you said maybe 3 months ago, you know, but like with sports, you're always in it. You know what I mean? You're doing it every day. You have someone constantly uplifting you in a way where it can seem like if someone's correcting your speech and your grammar, it's kind of seeming like a little condescending sometimes, you know? So I think that's where I used to have a problem with it, you know?
I think you need the équilibre,
Yeah,
you
c'est
know,
ça, ouais.
where you can confidently practice speaking fluently, but at some point also you got to be
Definitely,
very
yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering then, so once you moved here,
Mhm.
were you taking actual classes in French language as well?
Yes.
So how did that pan out? From the self-study and the
Yeah.
Twitter back home and the Anki,
It's-
what was it like to actually have formal classes?
Yeah, so, you know, before that, I never had like real formal, like, yeah, I took maybe like a semester of French in school, But it wasn't like everything wasn't in French, like, okay, class, today we will learn these words, but it wasn't like anything serious, So when I got here, and it was bad too, because I had to get my visa, and to get your visa, it was during COVID. And this was really bad because like all the visa, des rendez-vous pour les visas, they were taken up. So the area that I live in is Washington, D.C., and my embassy that I had to go get my visa from, they were closed. The only place they had it open was in Chicago. So I had to go to Chicago, get my visa, and school started like, I think it was September 8th. And I didn't get my visa until like the 17th. And I went to class like maybe 3 days later. And I don't know if you know about the French education system, but they have like, if you miss like 4 classes, you have to pass au rattrapage.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got there, I think it was like September 28th, and I'm showing up the first day, and I'm like, with my schedule, I'm like, yeah, speaking in my broken French, je pense que, I'm supposed to be in this class, and they look at the thing, and they're like, class started 4 weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I know, but I couldn't really express myself, so it's like, I'm like trying to explain to them, so, and that was hard, so you start with 4 weeks behind. Exams, or most schools, is every 6 weeks. So 2 weeks after I started in class, I had an exam. 2 weeks after, from what we reviewed the whole season, the whole semester, the first half of the semester. So in that way, I was like, it was rough. My teachers are speaking, and it's kind of, I think that's another thing too. You don't really understand like how little you speak in that language until you get there. You leave your house, people are speaking in French. You get on the bus, people speaking in French, you're and a teacher speaking 2-3 hours in a lecture in French. And it's like, and I would get home maybe like 2 in the afternoon, and I would just like mentally be fatigued just hearing the language. And especially when your brain is working so hard to try to understand what you're hearing, it was tiring, what I'm saying? So I used to go home and go to sleep like 3-4 hours, then have to wake up and study what I had listened, because I wasn't, some schools you're not allowed to do this, but my teachers were cool. I would like record the class like in the audio, and I would listen to it, and I would take notes for like maybe 2-3 hours, or if I was in class, I'd be taking notes, but there'd be so many like blank spaces, so ça c'était difficile. But yeah, it was hard, not having any formal structured French. There's like certain little small nuances to do. Everybody writes in pen. The papers that are like grid. You ever seen like French paper?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very.
Yeah, it's like all the grids, and I used to like throw my eyes off. I'm like, bro, what is going on? So yeah, but it was one of those things where it was like, no, this is definitely not. This is not back home. This is definitely not the same system.
No, I remember that mental fatigue, especially during my year abroad.
Yes, sir.
Where I would be speaking English with people, have English to French translation class one day, then have Spanish taught to me in French.
Yeah.
And then we'd do a Créole class as well at the end of the day. And your brain, it does feel like you've done a workout for your body, that feeling of like DOMS and the muscle ache.
C'est ça.
It was that for the brain.
Yeah.
And in those moments, I'll get headaches. I'll get a lot of headaches, but that's just your brain working. Like, I think it's actually the best sign is that your brain is just completely demolished, because it's rebuilding itself. Your brain is literally becoming capable of deciphering something it wasn't previously able to do.
Exactly.
So did you find then that from having only self-study to now formally having classes, what was the impact of that? What were the results?
Man, it helped a lot. Of course, no one wants to be in a situation that's uncomfortable, but it definitely is something where you're like, yeah, I needed this to get better. I needed this to improve and things like that. It helped me like, because I, back home, yeah, like if you go to class and you listen the first time and you study a little bit, all right, you're good, for an exam. But here it's like, you actually have to pay attention, really study, because it's in a different language, so, and there was that. Like, I don't think I really knew how to study, some actual language, or not even just a language, but just different materials being taught in that language, because I wasn't like a Erasmus student or a transfer. I was a French student, so I wasn't getting extra time on exams. I wasn't getting dictionaries, to use, like you applied as a regular student, you get taught and treated as such,
Wow.
So, it was definitely something to see, what I'm saying? But it helped me a lot. I feel like it helped me a lot, and it helped me grow as a person, because you're faced with all this adversity and things like that, so that was definitely something that I felt was beneficial for me, I got to experience another education system, and you know, it was just nice to have that difference. And you know, not my only point of reference isn't education in the U.S. You know, someone asked me, oh, how's school in France, or how did you go about doing it? I can give them advice on, yeah, this is what you got to go to. You got to do your little thing on parcours, or you got to do these type of things, and you know, mes études en France. So I kind of know like how the process works, and it was just beneficial for me, but how I can also help other people too, thanks to it. You know.
Yeah, I know I definitely agree that you can self-study a language and get fluent and spend a lot of time with people. But because I went through it, the route of like formal education with, I don't know, the street French and all the other stuff that comes along day-to-day life, that's what worked for me. And I know that it is a bit of no pain, no gain there, because it is just hard. You're in a classroom, someone's speaking to you in another language. When I was younger in the UK, until I got to university, the teachers were British. So there was always that reference of, I mean, I was very enthusiastic. I wanted to speak to them in French, but still they'd break back to English. They could explain it. When you've got someone who doesn't necessarily even speak English that well, or they're refusing to speak English, and they're teaching you, that's when, you know, that's when the real battle begins.
You
and
got no choice to
learn it. You will find that at the start, it's so normal, I would say, for people to just feel demotivated because I don't understand her. This is difficult, but just keep going. You just got to be resilient and persevere. And so how long did it take for you of doing those classes before, like, okay, you've gone through this, like, oh, what's going on? They're speaking to me in French. Je comprends pas. How long did it take for you to like get to that position where you felt confident and you're like, whoa, this is actually working now? Okay.
So I think it came in different waves. Like, reading, I feel like most people will always be stronger at reading than anything else, you know, because you can see it is written down. But maybe I feel like maybe at 6 months after my first, about maybe February, March, you know, of like every day going to class, because like I think I had like 17 separate classes, you know. Some classes would be, you know, we'd have the translation. We had French to English and English to French. Then we have Spanish to French and French to Spanish, you know, but those two would come together for one class, you know. But after maybe 6 or 7 months, I feel like I could understand really well, even if I wasn't able to m'exprimer, dire tout ce que je voulais dire et tout, tu vois. But it was definitely like I could hear everything, and it was cool too because I had an American that came here. It wasn't in school, but it was football, and when the coach would talk, I would be like translating it for him, like, hey, this is what he's saying, this is how it's going, you know. But in school wise, after that first year, I felt like I was like, about 6 to 7 months, I was like, all right, I'm good. But it was right around that time where, I don't know if you ever had this, like when you feel like you're just making progress and then you have to go back home, you know what I mean? It's like you leave, you know, I felt like I was making a breakthrough, and it was like maybe June. And then I went back to the US for like 2-3 months. And then I was like, damn, I ain't really, you know, like it's kind of, you know, I was so used to speaking it, and then it's pulled away. And then you're like, all right, how do I maintain it? How do I create an environment where, you know, I need to speak it every day and I'm hearing it every day and things like that.
It's so true that I've gone back and forth since I stopped studying French. Unless I'm surrounded by people who speak it, I can understand, but then ça bloque. I'm not sure what to say, and it's not a fun feeling when I tell people, oui, je parle français. They ask you a question. I'm like, mais je sais pas quoi dire après, je sais pas. Je sais. Mais j'arrive pas. And then it's like, it's one of those things that it will come back for sure, but it can hinder the growth, and there's the up and downs. But I think anyone who's studying anything, it's not always just going to be constantly up, right? You got to accept the journey. So
it does happen that way, because I'm with you on that, bro. You know, it's like, I say I speak it, you know, but it's not like I'm perfect in it, you know what I mean? So like if there's someone, they'd be like, oh, you said you speak French, or how do you say this word? Or, well, you know, I don't know every word, but
scrambled eggs, I tell you.
It's going to come back.
You got to remind us in the comments for that, because I still, it's bugging me that j'ai déjà oublié. Hein?
Ouais, moi, je connais pas les mots. Je sais pas comment dire non plus. But it's funny though, because you don't know every word. You don't know, even in English, like there's subjects I'm not well versed in. So, I mean, you wouldn't say I don't speak it. You know what I mean? Like, peut-être tu parles pas comme les natifs, tu vois, mais tu parles bien pour t'exprimer et tout, but you don't speak it perfectly. And that's normal, you know? You're not going to know everything, but that doesn't mean you don't speak the language, you know? So, but it is funny in that way, though. It's funny.
So then, in terms of, we've just been speaking about French, really.
Yeah.
Where did Spanish and Portuguese fit into all this?
Okay, so, where I grew up at, man, it's like Newport News, Virginia. We have a lot of like Hispanics, you know what I mean? We have a lot of Latinos there, you know, from like Guatemala, El Salvador, Cuba, and I've always had like Hispanic friends, and either they were like the no sabo kid but their parents only spoke it, you know what I'm saying? So there was like
What's a no sabo kid?
No sabo kid is like my understanding of what a no sabo kid is like a kid that, you know a little bit about Spanish, like, you know, like no sé, that's how you're supposed to conjugate it, you know, because it's like no sabes, no sabe, no saben.
No sabo is like conjugating.
Okay. You know? So, you know, they know a few words here and there, but I grew up like with a lot of people like that in my area, and this is like 2020. I remember right after I came back from France, I was like, I did it one time, you know what I mean? Why can't I do it again? You know? So that's when I started learning again in January. I think it became like a thing for me to learn like a new language in January. And this was a year before I went to France.
So wait, just for the timeline then.
Yeah.
So French was the first one you properly studied.
So 2019 to 2020.
You set the goal that, okay, I'm going to be able to go to France and whatever.
So 2019, January, 2019, December, right? That's when I was studying. December of 2019, I went to France. When I got back from France in January 5th of 2020, that's when I started picking up Spanish.
Okay. Yeah. Was that the same way how you first started picking up French, or was it different?
It was a little different. I felt like I had I knew what I was doing, so I started immediately just conjugating verbs. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was like for me, the most important verbs in French was like être and avoir, you know, because, you know, je suis allé, you know, j'ai 24 ans, 25 ans. So I knew, I was like, okay, Romance language kind of be a little bit the same, you know, so I was clocking in like the hours just conjugating verbs, and I got good at like really conjugating them to a point where you're like, okay, even if this is a regular, I know it's going to kind of follow this pattern a little bit. So, and that's how I went about doing that, you know? So, with Spanish, so I was like, okay, cause it was more practical for me, you know, like there's people in the area that speak it. So I was like, I was able to, you know, I'd study for like maybe 1 or 2 months, and then I would go to the restaurants. I would like I would say things like, you know, literal translation, like yo quiero un taco, yo quiero, but yeah, like, but now, you know, I know it's like, me da un taco, me da, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's not in terms of like give me, but it's like me da, like it's in the terms of yo quiero, how we would say it in like in English. So yeah, I went about doing that, and, you know, just practicing with people in the city and things like that, and it was going good. And so just speaking with like Hispanics there, listening to music like Bad Bunny, you know, J Baldwin, things like that, and a lot of like Dominican rappers and things like that. A lot of my friends were Dominican, so I kind of picked up a little of their things like Vaina or you know, un chin, or, you know, things like that. So I kind of follow that type of Spanish too, you know.
And for me, interested to hear your perspective after, but having French first made Spanish quite easy to pick up in terms of the first time you learn French. J'ai 25 ans. Wait, I have 25 years?
Yeah, I have 25 years.
What are they talking about? But then in Spanish, it's the same.
Yeah.
So then by the time you know, like you're studying Spanish, you're like, okay, I have 25 years.
Yeah.
Tengo 25 años. That makes sense to you at this point now.
It was like a rollover, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I know what this is, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I know it's not, because I wouldn't say like, yo soy 25 años. You know what I'm saying? Like we would say in English, you know? So I kind of...
Maybe the no sabo kids.
Yeah, he's one of them. He's one of them. So, you know, that was just funny that way. But I felt like the transition from, you know, because they're all in the same Romance family, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's why Germans really speak good English, you know, it's in the Germanic family. So, you know, it's the same with other, you know, Romance language speakers. I feel like there's a lot of, you know, crossover. There's a lot of cognates, you know, in the languages. So, and that really helped me. I was like, all right. And I felt like I was advancing a lot faster, you know, the fact that I knew how to learn more or less, and there was people in my area. I had this French experience, and it was all right, you know, it wasn't too bad, but I never really felt like because I didn't have a lot of friends in Spanish though, like I did with French. Like I had made a lot of online friends in French, but I didn't make a lot of online friends in Spanish, so I didn't feel like a strong connection to it as I did with French and like the other languages I spoke, you know.
It's interesting also to hear about these little differences, like me da un taco. Yeah. Because I learned Spanish in school as well, like French. So we would learn like, I guess, the literal version, quisiera un taco, and trying to be very polite. But it's when I say that once you got to that level where you can really appreciate those nuances,
yes, sir,
you're going to excel because you're not seeing it as, oh, I'm not saying the right thing. You're like, wow, I'm learning all these cool new phrases. And I mean, I spent a lot of time in the States when I was a kid, got family there. And we'd always like, the British family would find it funny when we'd hear our American family in a restaurant say, I'm going to do the breakfast.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, brother. Let me get that.
Give me, give me that, give me this. And we're thinking in England,
what do y'all say?
UK.
What do y'all say in the UK?
I mean, it depends. If you're being polite, could I please have the breakfast? May I have the breakfast, please? Or like, it wouldn't be instinctive for me to gimme.
Okay.
Or, you know, I'll do. Like, we definitely don't say I'll do. That still, to this day, I'll chuckle because I'll do the breakfast. What do you mean? Like, how are you going to do it? What does that mean? You know, so like.
Even little, between us, we got the little small differences.
Yeah, you know, that's the banter. I think that when you appreciate those things,
yes, sir.
Latin American Spanish compared to Spanish from Spain as well, super different as well. And even in different Latino countries, I always found that I didn't really like doing the th.
Yeah. Oh, like
gracias. But then it was easier as a English speaker to just do s, gracias. That for me was just, it felt more comfortable. So then I gradually started to try and copy the Latino accent, like a Mexican accent, because that's what I heard a lot as a kid going to LA. Oh, these people sound way cooler than my Spanish teacher in the UK. Yeah. You know, rather than
a little bit of swag, you know, in between it. Because I mean, they say, I know a lot of Spanish friends. They say kind of it sounds sing-songy in Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Especially like the Caribbean Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of them don't even pronounce like the end of words. You know, like para acá or pa acá, or you know what I'm saying, or ya tú lo sabes, you know, like they don't not pronouncing S's, or they're cutting the words out, you know. So and it is just kind of, for me, it always flowed better, you know what I'm saying, with the Spanish from like Latin America. And I ain't gonna say I identified with it a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, because it didn't seem like it was like a don't take it wrong, but like a prestigious thing, you know what I'm saying. They were just speaking, you know, but in French, you know, it's like, oh no, you have to have this type of level, or you're not speaking right, and this and that. You know, you would just speak with your Spanish friends, and of course they would correct me, but it wasn't ever like, you know, like,
it's a cultural difference between the two ones.
You're right about that. Yeah,
I did find that, and it's good and bad at the same time, because again, being corrected isn't nice, but it helps you improve. Definitely. But then when you feel so comfortable, like I know with my friends from Latin America, like I felt comfortable with them, which made me more confident to just keep trying and trying and trying and trying as well. So again, it's the balance there.
Yeah, it is though. But and you know, I think that's just one of the things we have to learn, humility. Like, and I'm the first person to say, like, you know, I never like being corrected, you know, but I didn't mind it in terms of what it was, because I always felt like it was someone saying, oh, you're not speaking properly. Like, you know, I'm communicating an idea and you're saying my words that are coming out are like pretty much you saying I'm saying nonsense pretty much. You know, that's how I was like taking it. But in terms of like sports, you know, I needed to be corrected. I always had a coach. I never had like a bad problem or bad relationship with coach, you know, and me corrige, je dis, okay, wait, we coach, no coach, you know, that's it. You know, there's no extra stuff behind it, you know. But in terms of languages, I feel like when you're speaking and communicating ideas, I don't know, it kind of like touch, because you dedicate, you know, I'm sure you've dedicated like hours upon hours, you know, to get where you were at. And then you're like, when you're in front of people and it's still like, okay, I'm still not where I want to be at.
I think, you know, whatever language you study,
yes, sir,
it just, you're in a vulnerable position at that moment, especially when you've told people, yes, I can speak it. Someone has if someone wants to be méchant,
c'est ça.
They can like put you down and like highlight those insecurities and like imperfections.
Yep.
It can hurt. It can really hurt, but you just got to go past it, because the people who are really nitpicking you, if they really want to make you feel bad, they don't want you to win anyway. I just feel like you got to put that to the side, take it on the chin, as we say in English, and just like, you know, you can choose. Am I going to let these corrections actually improve my language skills, or am I just going to let it get me down? So.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. And, you know, I've learned that too. You know, like I said, this was like my mentality when I first started out, and I was like, you know, dang, you know, I'm trying to, you know, because I used to get excited when I would hear someone speaking. I'm like, yo, boy, I like, and I'm like, I understand that, you know what I mean? So I would be excited to engage with it, you know. So if you know, you felt like, okay, well, he's not I mean, because it's their language. And like, if someone come and speak to me in English, I'm not going to be as excited to speak it. I'm going to just...
Yeah, I mean...
You know what I mean? Like,
you know, you're saying that though, but I've met people across the world, and I guess this is partially due to just American culture being like everywhere, and even African American culture having such a huge influence with music, that I've met like people in Asia who've never really been to America. And then I say like, oh, hi, how are you? And they're like, how you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, did I hear you right? Like, yeah, how you doing? And like, these are like Korean women, like who have just learned American English, like to a T.
Yes, sir.
And these people pick what they find cool as well. And what they like, again, it's the same. I learned Spanish and I just would hear, okay, hola, soy inglés. And then I'd hear like, soy mexicano. It's like the, whoa.
Yeah.
There's something there diferente.
Yeah.
Like, oh, ¿qué quieres hacer? ¿Qué quieres hacer? It's like, whoa, like there's power in the way that these people are speaking. And, you know, I want to imitate that. And I feel like when you play with it, that's how, I mean, I've heard you speak in all the languages so far, and you've maintained, like, you were able to really adapt your accent. How did that come about? Because I know some people, they say naturally, maybe they're more musical. It's easier for them to, I guess, identify the intonation. And we've got a video about that coming soon, actually, about accent specifically.
Yes, sir.
But how were you able to improve your accent in all the different languages?
In all the different languages? Okay, so French, I think it was just the fact of being here, you know. I feel like I speak a lot, you know, from the throat, and if it's... And I don't know how much is true. I haven't done any research or science, but it's just what I've observed. And in French, you know, you always hear them like when they think or they're talking, there's a lot of So when I would like speak in French, you know, especially because I wanted to fit in, you know, so I didn't like in my life, I don't mind not fitting in. But, you know, when you're really the only person there, you know, it's like, oh, that's the American. Oh, let's switch thing. You know, I just like, so I would try to imitate it, you know. I'd see how they move their mouth and, you know, like, but tu sais, tu vois, and you just kind of copy them in that way. Spanish was a little bit different because I felt like there's so many more varieties of Spanish. So it was kind of like, let's pick and choose, you know, like, do I want to speak Spain with the F, you know, or like, you know, cascade, or, you know, those things like gracias, you know. Or do I want to, you know, hablo un poco más suave, ya tú lo sabes, like, you know, in the Caribbean Spanish. And, you know, I kind of like, was just like listening to like music, and that kind of like clicks. Okay, that's, you know, he's not saying porque yo estoy, like, porque yo estoy, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's cutting right, you know, it flows better. So I kind of like figured out what area I liked, what culture I liked, and I wanted to emulate them. I wanted to speak a little bit like them. And it was just like a lot of training, you know what I'm saying? And just listening and practicing with friends, or like, oh, how would you say this? You know, like, I know what the dictionary says, but how would you say it? You know, I think like picking an accent that, you know, that you identify with and things that you feel like are interesting does definitely help out a lot, you know? So that was that for like Spanish. Portuguese, you know, you got the big two, pretty much. You got the Brazil and you got the Portugal. You know, of course, they speak it in like Angola and Mozambique, and also in a couple islands right off the coast of Africa, São Tomé,
Cabo Verde,
you know. So, but I had always learned from Brazilians, you know, so like...
But Cabo Verde is Spanish or Portuguese?
No, Cabo Verde, yeah, they speak Portuguese and...
Okay, so but Cabo, how do you actually...
Cabo Verde.
Ah, Verde, yeah. So Cabo Verde is the Spanish version of... Okay, Cabo Verde.
Yeah, because we say in English Cape Verde, I think.
Cape Verde. We definitely don't pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, because I think we changed it to their official... You know, it's kind of like... what country was it? It was Turkey, you know, like
Turkey, yeah.
So that's how they want people to pronounce their country now. So
okay, for the record, it's
Cabo Verde.
Cabo Verde. Okay, we got it.
That's how they say it, you know. And I don't know if everybody says it like that in English, but I know that's how they say it. That's as a Brazilian speaker. So yeah. So with Portuguese, you know, I always picked the place where my friends were, you know. So like, sou flamenguista, sabe? Eu sou de carioca. Eu gosto muito de futebol americano. I mean, o futebol do Brasil, sabe? So it's
Brasileiro.
Like, yeah. So and that's how I always talk. And they say like the carioca, and they push o sh, like with the S's and things like that. They wouldn't say I don't know, just words like flamingo, right? Flamingo. But it's just flamingo, you know? Like they'd say things like that, or cara, they just like a lot of things come out like that. In other places, they don't speak like that. So, and I always thought that was cool. You know, I was just like, you know, so I always thought it was something cool speaking how they spoke. You know, all my friends spoke like that, and you know, it's just something that about the karaoke accent, that they were just like, okay, that's a cool way to speak. And I always felt like they had the most like, I guess, swag out of all the Brazilians out there. So, you know, and that's Rio de Janeiro from the karaoke accent. So yeah. Yeah, what else? Swahili, I think I just have a general accent because I did pick it up and I would stop because of school. You know, I started like maybe 2023 with that, but I never continued to a point where I would say I was like super fluent. Like ninongea Kiswahili kidogo. Like I can speak a little bit, I can understand a lot, but I wouldn't say I could have a fluent conversation like I have in all the other ones. But I can, you know, express my ideas, but understanding everything is a little bit rougher, you know. So,
I mean, you've spent time in Brazil, France, obviously America, but to get that level of Swahili, you haven't yet. I'm saying yet because I know I'm sure you got to hit up
it's in the works,
Africa
man.
as well. So, but how was it to get to that level without even being in? I mean, I was gonna say Kenya, but actually, there's a lot of countries that speak Swahili. Kenya, was it Uganda? No,
Uganda, Tanzania, and I think Rwanda has it as a official language there, along with French, Kinyarwanda, English, and Swahili. Yeah, I think that's the four official in Rwanda. So yeah, so
how has it been like to pick up a language that is not actually like widely spoken, at least, or officially spoken, let's say?
Yeah, man, and it's hard, bro. You know, because like things like as simple as Duolingo. You know, you'd find Japanese, Chinese, Mandarin, English, French, Spanish, all the, I guess, the European and big Asian languages, Russian, things like that. But like for African languages, it's, you know, you're going to have a hard time finding resources, you know, and I feel like that's what took me so long to get there, you know. Like I really love like African culture, and it's all not the same, of course. You know, I know the difference.
They will let us know in the comments every single time we mention Africa, but it's always all love.
Yeah, Kenyan culture is different from Tanzanian, Ugandan, South African, Mozambican, things like that. They're all different, but you know, because I feel like there's not everybody learns the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Chinese, but you know, it's rare you hear people, oh yeah, I'm learning Kiswahili. Or I'm learning Yoruba, I'm learning Lingala, you know, like I'm learning Xhosa. Like there's no one really speaking those, you know what I mean? And I think it's like, c'est dommage qu'il y a des gens qui ne parlent pas ou qui ne cherchent pas à parler ces langues, tu vois. So I think it's just sad that they don't go try to learn those languages, you know, because Africa's big, man. Africa's big and it's growing, and it's just as important to me as European languages. You know, it's not, you know, for me, it's not this is the tier of languages and then these other languages are there. It's like, what's important to you? And language is just a way to communicate and talk to people. And, you know, that's up there with the best of them, you know.
For sure. I mean, it's just a plug, I guess. The majority of people who have been viewing our videos on languages, you know, shown in the analytics, are Americans, followed by like people from the UK.
Yeah.
So coming back from Accra just last week, a few days ago, we were there. Like pretty much everyone you meet there's multilingual.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so impressionnant that you get someone who from schooling will be speaking like a very refined level of English.
Yes, sir.
You know, but then a lot of people communicate in pidgin, which is kind of like Créole, like Hafana, Ade, you know, they got this very like, it's English word, but it's all mixed up with other stuff. And then there's the like most connecting language tree.
Okay.
But then on top of that already, that's what, like, if you count pidgin, like standard English, tree, that's 3.
Yep.
People will speak their regional dialects as well, and there's a bunch of them. And not even dialects, languages. Different languages. And for those people seeing these videos of like a Brit, a monolingual speaking like I learned this and that, these like people, I was so impressed with just seamlessly mixing them all together, learning them, and you get those connections. My family are Ewe, which is also spoken in Togo as well. I feel like now with the internet, more and more people are going to be showcasing the love for European languages, African languages, Asian languages, the nuances. Even I feel like with Spanish, in the different Latino countries, there are words coming from different places all kind of fusing in and blending. So
interconnectality.
Yeah, that's I can feel from the way you've been speaking about these different accents and dialects, you've got a real passion.
Yes, sir.
And that's, I think, what really drives people the most is when you find the areas in a language that you're super passionate about, nothing's going to stop you because there's something innate in you that's just saying, I'm gonna nail this.
Yes, sir.
It's not work anymore. You hearing those differences in the accents, I can feel that coming across. So
yes, sir.
Yeah. So where did that come from in terms of like Swahili and I can't even do the
process. So yeah, you got like the 3 clicks. You got the like that's the Q, and you just like at the top like the like those ones, and then you got like the C ones. It's like in words like a little bit, and then you got like the ones on the side like that for like nossa or there's a couple other words like that with the C clicks, but the X click, sorry, on the side. But yeah, those I don't know, man. It's just I feel like I've heard it one day and I'm sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, just like where did that passion, I guess, come from for that? I mean, in America, there's a lot of exposure to Spanish. There's, we're still quote unquote the West.
Yeah.
So, okay, French has still got that influence, but where did the interest come from? Did you meet like Africans in France or was there, where did that whole
because, I think we hit on it a little bit. Like we in the West have this idea of what Africa is just based off of what we see on the television or TV, like, oh, it's this, oh, there's starving there or there's going through this type of thing. There's no, like, I honestly still meet people today, unfortunately, and this isn't just in America now. This is even in France or any other part of the world, you know what I'm saying? They'd say things like, oh, where is this country? Oh, they have roads there or there's, saying those types of things. And I'm like, what do you think? You know what I mean? Like, what do you think? These people, like, you think like they're just communicating on a rock and, like,
Google Côte d'Ivoire, you're going to see some better roads that probably in our own countries.
Hey, come on now. It's the reason why they say Abidjan Haidou. Like, it's a great place, It's not just because it's Africa. Like, it's something crazy, you know what I mean? They call Nigeria like that's like the African giant, these aren't just names just because of that. These are, like, these places have, like, big economies and things like that. But to answer your question, like where does passion come from? Like being, an African American and, here, in Europe especially, there's most Africans that are here came here, in terms of like maybe in the UK, I think it's like the Windright movement or the Wind
Rush. Yeah, that was a lot of people from the Caribbean. Yeah,
that came, to here. So they came here in that way. They made the choice to come. Or in France, these Africans that have probably came, like the Senegalese people that came from the Deuxième Guerre mondiale, they made the choice to come and that's their point of reference, So coming from the U.S. to being here, one of the questions, you're going to get, I think that it's not just African, being black or anything, but like, I'm sure probably you've talked to people, tu viens d'où? C'est quoi tes origines? That's the question. Yeah, c'est quoi tes origines? Like, what are your origins? Where do you come from? And what I'm saying? You'd be like, the USA. You know what I'm saying? And, if I feel like if I was like a white dude or something, they'd be like, okay.
That's where the conversation finishes, right?
You're from the USA. You know what I'm saying? But, being the fact that I'm a black American, they'd be like, yeah, but where are you really from? Yeah, I'm from the US. Like, where are your parents from? The US. And your grandparents? Yeah, from the US, bro. We've been here for a while, But, and I think that's kind of where these kind of stereotypes, ideas that, oh, black Americans, they don't know where they come from. But on the same token, you wouldn't ask a Jamaican, where do you come from? Like, if he says, I come from Jamaica, he's from Jamaica. If you ask a Brazilian, Afro-Brazilian, where they come from, they got here the same time we did, So there's this, oh, I know everything about America. So, there's not much to you know what I mean? It's kind of like I already have an idea. So, yeah. So I think it was kind of like, okay, I kind of want to discover a little bit where I came from, I guess. I'm from America, but my great grandparents before, kind of know like where they would come from. We have an idea, around like Nigeria and Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, these areas and things like that. Yeah, like Africans that I met here, man, they've been like some of the most hospitable people like I've like ever met. Like, I think honestly, like being here in France with the African people that I've met, I think I've really learned like what being generous is, you know? And like even small things like food, you know, like if I'm eating something, I'm not going to be sharing my food with someone. But here, you know, saying they got like a little bit left and it's the last one. They're like, hey, take it. No, take it. Go ahead. Or they feed you, you know what I'm saying? Like you're eating things like attiqué or ablu or like le poulet brasé, like those things, like they feed you, they welcome you in like family. And, you know what I'm saying? That like, you know, so for me, it was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have a lot to give and you're giving these things to me. And that's what made me like love the culture and who they are as people and things like that, you know? So that really, really turned me on to their culture and want to learn more, you know, about it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I mean, someone who's grown up with, West African family, it's kind of default that you have that hospitality and openness to people. But so, of course, when someone's shown you that, to link it back to language, of course you want to then like get closer to that culture and learn how to say thank you and learn the names of these foods and all of those language, culture, they piece together in the same puzzle of appreciation and understanding. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to share cultures with different people, but then of course, linguistically,
yes, sir,
the clicks.
Yeah.
I've tried, I mean, like, how did you get those down as well? Did that take, because I've learned tones in the Asian languages. That took me a while to get my head around, but I guess this is a new kind of sound. Like, did that take a long time or how did you?
Yeah, in theory, it doesn't take a long time, but when you try to apply it, like if I'm trying to say a lot of words like Imitating, like saying those things like consecutively, like you get kind of like tongue twisted if you're not used to saying those things. Like I don't by any means say I speak also fluently or anything like that. But if I can formulate a few phrases, you know, it's like you get tongue tied and it's like, it doesn't take a long time to learn them. I say anybody can learn them in a few days or hours, but putting them into words and, you know what I'm saying? Like even when I was saying with the Q, you know, if your tongue isn't stiff when you say like that, it kind of like it kind of makes like the sound like, cause it kind of slips, you know, but my friends, like they got it, you know what I'm saying? So when I try to emulate them, they're like, no, it's not like that, you know? But yeah, it took a little while. It took a little while to learn it. And, but I feel like it's worth it, you know, cause all of them, they're like, wow, you know, why are you learning these things? Also, you know what I'm saying? Like it's such a hard language and this and that. Like, yeah, man, but you know, I feel like I can get it, you know, it's like any other language, you know, so just resources that come down to it. But yeah, but it's definitely a cool language to learn. And, you know, definitely I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more deeper into it.
I mean, what's interesting is that it's kind of the opposite of us being in France. There's a lot of people born in France who look like you and a lot who look like me. So when you say, ah ouais, je parle français, they're going to assume, it's just another French guy of African origin, it's just another French Arab, and you say, non, je suis américain. Je say, non, je suis anglais. Non, come on, tu rigoles, ouais, mais américain avec des origines sénégalaises ou quoi. Ouais, t'es algérien. Non, moitié anglais, moitié pakistanais. Ah oui, mais au Pakistan, elle parle français. Pas du tout. Non, mais vous êtes des Arabes. Pas du tout, Pakistan. Pakistan's not an Arab country, you know. We are in Asia.
Okay.
But
what do they speak in? Is it Urdu or?
Urdu is the official language, yeah. My family are Punjabi speakers.
Okay.
Very similar languages, but even then, right, it can kind of help though, because people, because of what they see, aren't going to make an effort to kind of slow down the language. But then the opposite of that is if you like meet someone and they know you're American and you say, I'm learning Swahili. What's the reaction been to like, you know, closer, like?
Yeah, because they think it's like interesting. Like, first off, why? You know what I'm saying? like what do you know like some Tanzanians or you know some kids? Like, no, I mean, it's the same anything. Like you want to learn something that's to, you know, approfondir tes connaissances. Like you want to get a deeper understanding of certain things. That's what I wanted to learn it for. But anything, I think my motivation to like most languages is because really like I want to travel there and I want to meet people, you know. Anytime they ask me, I want to learn the language because I want to meet new people. I want to travel to this country and just understand the culture, you know. Like, of course, speaking the language is one part, but you understand the culture, like oh, that's why they say these type of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm guessing it was like, I think I watched one of your videos where you was like, people don't ask like in Asian cultures, how are you doing? But it was something like,
have you eaten?
Have you eaten? You know what I'm saying? That's something like really cultural. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I feel like you get that aspect of it in these in these things. So, but yeah, people don't really know why I'm speaking Swahili. Like, oh, your family speaking? No. You know, it's like, oh, have you been there? You raised there? No, like it's something that interests me, you know what I'm saying? And it's like it's a new passion that you found, you know. Growing up, it was football, you know what I'm saying? Now it's languages and travel. So, and that's I guess the new part of my life, you know, what I want to do in my life now. So,
yeah, what you mentioned about that, I fully got when I went to Réunion Island.
Yes, sir.
Because I went there to do a year's Erasmus at the University of Réunion Island, improve my French. But I got there and the Créole, hey, those people are incredible. Yeah. And when I would learn and start to learn their dialect, it's not, you know, they don't say, je viens de wherever I come from. They say, mi sort. So, mi sort de l'Angleterre.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm from England.
Yeah.
And like, mi sort de l'Angleterre, mais il est moitié anglais, moitié pakistanais. Et mes autres à la Réunion, bana les métissés aussi. You know, so like they're mixed, I'm mixed, everyone's mixed there. Like you start learning their way of speaking. There's something like, it's just special. And they appreciate it so much because a lot of people go there. There are people who've lived in Réunion who are French, of course, but they didn't really pick up Creole.
Yeah.
And there are people who come and they pick up the local words. I'm telling you, you get taken in. They're so happy to partager.
Yeah. They appreciate that, you know? It's less like, yes, I'm learning your language. I appreciate your culture. And they take you in, you know what I'm saying? You one of theirs at that point, you know?
Yeah, and you know, like it's all the cultures mixed together. So you'd have like kabri masale.
Okay.
Which is one of their dishes, and you hear masale. Wait, masala. From Pakistan. You look, you're seeing all these connections together. That's a beautiful thing. But okay, we've covered a lot today.
Yes, sir.
But D'Angelo, I want to know final advice, final points for someone who wants to be multilingual like you.
Okay.
What would you tell them?
I tell them just pick a language, pick a region where something you like, figure out what you like about, you know, just in your day-to-day life. Get used to doing that every day and just stay consistent with it. You know, that if you stay consistent, you're definitely going to see improvements. You know, 5 minutes a day, every day is better than 1 hour a week. So, you know, so I can say for that.
So yeah, huge thanks. D'Angelo's socials links will be in the description box. Of course, to anyone watching this, we're super grateful. Let us know in the comments what languages you're studying. How are you studying them? Do you disagree with our study methods? Do you agree? We want to know everything. Of course, we'd be very grateful if you could subscribe. It helps us to keep making this content. Hit that like button and share it with anyone else you think would benefit. But until next time, à bientôt.
À bientôt.